I need to talk to a real person. Marcos, it's me. Something's happened.
Nora, you got messed with too?
Also, what do you mean?
My account got shut down yesterday. Linda, Jay, Amina, at least 7 this week.
7?
Maybe more. We're all looking in the same direction. Didn't you notice?
Financial dealings with arms contractors. Marcos is checking into the environmental bill. Linda is looking into his former chief of staff. Jay is looking into his campaign funds coming from overseas sources. 9 people, each checking their own, but all pointing to the same name. Nine. Silencer operation. Every message in the group keeps reminding me of the same fact. Our names have been flagged. Not because we did anything wrong, but because we might find something. It's not about killing you. It's about making you cease to exist. Silencer operation. No cases, no team, no contact information. Official translation for reputation calibering and smear campaigns. I'm Nora Jimenez. I need to ask you about a term, the underterm strategy. Have you heard of it?
The Underflow strategy team consists of former intelligence officers, algorithm engineers, and ex-moderators from social platforms. They are privy to the platform's black box rules, knowing how to flag an account and how to get negative content suppressed by algorithms. They are not attacking you, they are attacking the system.
Is that legal?
The gray area between legality and detailability. They do not forge identity documents, yet they fabricate evidence convincing enough to trigger automated review systems. Those screenshots are fabricated, but crafted in a way that makes automated systems deem them authentic. Right. Then the system does the rest for them.
I see. Thank you. They are all ready. I'm getting ready too. I didn't sleep well that night. Lying in bed, the same thought kept flashing through my mind, the words mute operation, etched into my brain as if carved there. Everything seems normal, but I already know this normality is a sham. Someone altered our names in the system. Our names are still there, just concealed. I finished drinking the water, washed the cup, and put it back on the shelf. I went back to bed and closed my eyes, yet that grayish-black page kept lingering in front of my eyes. Nine people, scattered across six cities, have been surrounded in various ways. 9 people are surrounded from all directions. Every encircling ring converges on a single central point. Not 9 isolated attacks, 9 people surrounded from different directions. And all the circles lead back to the same center. I already know. Three unrediated committee seats, and he turned them into a web. Defense contractor money turned into environmentalist money, then straight into Crawford's pocket. It is not merely simple corruption, it is a systemic network of the exchange of interests.
I'll take undercurrent strategies.
Raven. Preemptive meeting. Strip away the audience before you even finish the story. Once the audience is gone, the story has no teeth.
Every single number is a person.
She used that name. The media outlet accepted it. When I saw Linda's message in the group, the corners of my mouth relaxed for the first time. Just the corners, not a smile. But that was the first time that day I felt I was still breathing.
I found the tool cluster Dark Current Strategies uses to manipulate algorithms, at least 200 automated accounts spread across 5 platforms. Their tasks, like positive content to boost weight, report negative content to trigger moderation, share fabricated leaks to create an impression. They're not just smearing us, they're washing Crawford's search results. Search's name, the first 10 pages are neutral or positive. Search my name, the first 2 pages are fabricated controversy. Can you prove those? I have them so far. Same proxy IPs, same activity patterns, same device fingerprints. How much? 2 weeks of data collection, assuming my server doesn't get it. Your server got attacked? Someone tried to penetrate it last week and not recon. They don't know you've already distributed the data among They don't, but we have to assume they're learning.
I stared at that photo for a long time. That hard drive wasn't big, but what was stored inside it, if found, that would be everything. I thought of what the former Dark Current Strategies employee said. When the audience leaves, the report loses its influence. I started looking into Crawford's connections to border policy.
I found a pattern. I call it policy arbitrage.
Crawford takes a hardline public stance on immigration, while privately his office signs contracts with private security companies, giving them access to immigration detention facility operations. He publicly says he wants to secure the border, but the facility operations contracts mostly flow to companies with cross-references to his campaign donations. They pay money to his committee, then get the contracts. This cycle has been running for 6 years. Can you publish? But you can use Puzzle.
I found the case files Crawford handled during his term on the Ethics Committee. I found an incident, marked closed after internal review. It involved a lobbyist who attempted to bribe a Crawford staffer. The case was never made public, never referred, closed directly. That was his Ethics Committee. He reviewed his own cases himself. He reviewed his own cases himself. If a man's ethics committee is appointed by himself, then the ethics review itself is invalid. The person reviewing is him, and the person being reviewed is also him. That's not oversight, that's theater.
Frank's discovery was an important part of the puzzle. Crawford wasn't just responsible for the money trail and the border contracts. He was responsible for the neutrality of the very mechanism that was supposed to oversee him. He turned the system that should have been reviewing him into a tool that protected him. I kept digging into undercurrent strategies. A former employee handed me an internal org chart, just something he'd sketched from memory. The core team on Project Raven. The project manager's name, Philip West, ex-military intelligence analyst, specialized in reputational risk within information technology contexts. His LinkedIn said he'd been at Undercurrent for 4 years, responsible for strategic content positioning. I dug up a transcript of a talk he'd given. The title, "If you want to make a piece of information disappear, you don't need to delete it. You just need to drone it. Create enough alternative information, and the original loses its priority." It's a form of passive elimination. When he said passive elimination, his tone must have been perfectly calm. A capable man on a stage, talking about something he'd done 100 times. In his world, it was just a technical problem.
Yeah, I found his interview on a podcast.
Send it over to me. Nothing. That night, I sat alone in my studio, listening to Philip West's voice. It was steady, like he was reading slides he'd flicked through 1,000 times. Held the audio and sat in the dark for a while. I wrote in my notebook, West passive elimination. The guy probably thinks he's doing something neutral, but what he's really doing is executing an attack. Maybe he doesn't see it as an attack. Maybe he calls it optimizing visibility. Then, I closed the notebook. Decided to meet in person, just once. 9 of us, scattered across 6 cities. We needed neutral ground somewhere that wouldn't leave a digital trail. Marcos found an old library in a small Michigan town. They had a study room you could reserve. No cameras. I drove 6 hours to get there. The others trickled in. It was the first time we'd been face to face. Marcos sat by the window. Linda sat across from him, younger than I'd pictured, holding a handwritten timeline. Amina leaned against the wall in the corner, flipping through a draft contract. Jay was fiddling with a signal detector. Ben and Tanya sat side by side. Sarah and David were studying the same printout. Nobody did the small talk thing. No. Long time no see. When I sat down, Marcos just gave me a nod.
We're under attack simply because we're investigating the same individual.
After the meeting, the work split into streams and picked up speed. Linda confirmed that Helen Crane's consulting firm received 4 wire transfers, each landing right before Crawford pushed a key piece of legislation. The amounts were modest, 50 to 80 grand a pop, but the timing was surgical. He wasn't taking money after the votes. He was using the money to confirm the votes had already happened. Can you prove that every transaction traces back to Crawford's orders? Some of these can be linked to his office through email metadata. It's not direct evidence, it's circumstantial. But enough circumstantial lines cross, and you start to see a shape. Same company. The logo on the display board has been blurred. This image has been tempered with. David found a connection point on social media between Crawford's campaign account and one of the shell companies, a deleted photo that had been archived. In the background, a display board with a company logo. Linda posted an image in the group. The doctored board photo side by side with the shell company's original logo. The difference was impossible to miss. Below it, her annotation. It's the same company, just with altered lettering. Crawford's campaign doctored the photo right before release. Crawford's campaign team deliberately altered the image before posting. Frank replied. They assumed the archive didn't exist. The archive exists. We exist. While tracking Undercurrent Strategies' automation network, Jay and Tanya found a lead pointing to an AWS server. Every one of those automated accounts was running off the same cloud node. That means West may only be one of the operators, the coder, not the one pulling the trigger. 9 p.m. to 2 a.m. Eastern. That's the footprint automation leaves behind after the human operators clock out, which means West might have just been one of the operators. He programmed the thing. He wasn't the one pulling the trigger. Tanya found an abandoned GitHub repo. It held the code for the mass reporting operation. Anonymous author, but one of the commit logs had an IP address that traced back to a commercial building in DC. Undercurrent Strategies, registered address. Late that night, I got Jay's message with the file attached. A copy of the code. 6 hours. The library, no security cameras. I didn't open it. I saved it to my hard drive and named it Tools. I went to bed late that night. But before I did something else. I opened a new document and started writing down everything that had happened. Not an investigation report. A record. Started from the morning my first account got frozen. Wrote about sitting in the dark for a long time. When I finished, it was almost dawn. I didn't save it. I just shut the computer down. Amina found a second document, a proposal drafted by Crawford's office, recommending a 5-year contract renewal for a private security firm. The annotations showed Crawford himself had revised the terms that let the operator raise the budget cap by 20%. That's a wide open door for that company. No oversight. The increased authority lets them jack up the price whenever they want. Amina's document reached the media investigation unit through Linda. Their response came back in one line. This lead is strong. We're pursuing doing it. Amina screenshotted and posted in the group, adding, "They said, strong." Jay replied, "They used the word strong. That's not editorial language. That's a signal. They're gonna run with it." I looked at that message and didn't reply. I was thinking about that signal. One word, 2 syllables. It meant someone in another room was looking at the documents we'd provided. This lead is strong. It's something they'd never say to the public, but they said it to us. That meant we had become a trusted source in their system. Late that night, I sent Amina a private message. "Thank you," she replied.
I know. One more time.
Ben started noticing patterns. Across the street from his apartment, a different car would park in the same spot every few days. He snapped the plates, ran them, and one of them traced back to a private investigation firm. That firm had ties to a former Undercurrent Strategies employee. "They're tailing us." But Ben admitted he hadn't found any physical devices. They might just be watching public info, social media check-ins.
They're tracking us, not individuals, group activity.
Open meeting records. You don't need a tracker. You just watch what we put out in the open. We don't post publicly anymore. Ben posted in the group. "They are watching me. I'm watching them back. Every day when I pass that corner, I glance at the car. It's still there. I wonder if the guy behind the wheel knows I've noticed. Probably not. He thinks he's invisible." Ben didn't reply, but I kept thinking about that image. A journalist stepping out his door in the early morning, deliberately slowing his pace, looking at the car across the street for 1 second, then turning and walking into the coffee shop. While digging into Crawford's ties to the healthcare industry, Sarah found a pharmaceutical company that had received his campaign donations. After a bill he supported passed, that company got an accelerated approval for a new drug, except the drug was a generic version of something already on the market. They got innovator drug treatment for a generic. That shaved about 14 months off the standard approval timeline. The FDA, but the accelerated application included a letter of recommendation from Crawford's office. He personally wrote to the commissioner, saying the drug holds potential value for certain populations. No, I cross-referenced Crawford's letter with the approval records and built a timeline. Accelerated approval came through 3 weeks after the letter went out. That's not a coincidence. Sarah organized the files, encrypted the package, and sent it to Linda. She posted in the group, "Package ready, 3rd piece." I counted, the money trail, the automation network, the border contract, the pharma approval. We had 4 pieces now, 5 more to go. I'd piled up a lot of material on West, but his name was still an entry point, not an exit. I needed to see the moment he executed, that moment he clicked send. That's what would make this piece whole.
Found another closed case. This one involves Helen Crane. After she left Crawford's office, she moved to a lobbying firm as vice president. That firm was competing for a defense contract. The approval committee was chaired by Crawford.
Is that legal? Probably not illegal, but ethics rules call for a 1-year cooling-off period. She got 1 week. Who signed off on it? Crawford himself. Frank's discovery added another piece to the puzzle. Crawford didn't just build networks through money and policy. He also modified the edges of institutional procedures passed through the gray zone without violating the letter of the law. That's another kind of system design. Not creating holes, using the gaps that already existed and widening them into passageways. That night, I sat at my computer. There was an unread email in my inbox from an address I didn't recognize. The subject line, "Are you okay?" I opened it. The body was 1 line. The sender's name was one I didn't recognize. Could have been a subscriber, someone who read my articles, a stranger. I sat there, fingers on the keyboard, wanting to reply. Typed a few lines, deleted them. Typed a few more, deleted them. I wanted to say I'm still here, but I don't know how much longer I can hold on. I sent it. Then I turned off the screen and didn't turn on the light. The street lamp outside cast a pale yellow patch of light on the curtain. I looked at that patch of light and didn't move. The street was quiet. Across the building, a few windows were still lit. Someone might be reading, someone might be watching TV. I stood there for a while. Then I drew the curtain, be sitting in the dark, went back to bed, looking out the window and closed my eyes. I don't know. At some point, I don't know when, I fell asleep.
We decided Linda would write the first article.
It identified Undercurrent Strategies as a PR firm registered in Delaware, staffed with former intelligence personnel and platform moderation experience. The article laid out what had happened to 9 journalists' frozen accounts, fabricated screenshots, search rankings pushed down. It was republished 47 times in the first 12 hours. Not viral. but it was seen in certain media circles.
Discussing Waject, if it was paid for by Crawford campaign of Fapper Funds Law. Will you investigate?
No one cheered. No one replied with a string of exclamation marks, but I saw Marcos supply on the screen one word. Good. Just one word, but it then would more than a whole paragraph. We were all awake, all watching the same screen, all waiting for that one word, moved.
On the third day after the first disclosure, Dark Current Strategies responded, not with a statement, with a technical countermeasure.
They're trying to silence us.
We're not speaking on the main platforms anymore, but the articles have already been archived.
They might want to cut off our access channels, not the content itself. Put the articles on decentralized platforms, IPFs, blockchain archiving. Make it so they can't be removed individually.
I switched off my phone and lay there in the dark. I thought, they went after our websites, sure, but they never touched the content itself, because it's in our hands now. 9 people, 6 cities, different hard drives, different backups.
Now they can attack the access endpoints, but the content is already distributed across over 100 nodes. To delete it all, they'd have to shut down the entire network. They can't do it.
They can't do it. Right before I fell asleep, the word came to me, decentralized. Not one center many. Our strength was in being spread out. We need an explanation. 9 of our accounts were flagged in the same period, for the same reasons, treated in the same way. It's not a coincidence.
After review, some accounts have been restored. The remaining accounts are still under review.
Evidence index. Got it. That tweet itself had less than 30 words, but it contained over 40 documents. Those documents won't disappear with a single click.
Those numbers mean nothing unless you know what they represent. I know, Linda knows, Jay knows, the media outlet looking at these documents knows too. I'm not sure if that counts as success. But someone saw that link. Someone clicked it. Someone saw those names.
Follow up?
Oh, really, Noemi?
Do a report on 9 independent journalists being systematic smeared? A national newspaper contacted me. They called it an online phenomena. I set conditions. The interview content must be reviewed by all 9 members, but can quote individual names.
The headline didn't offered, only Dark Great Tracknages and the Raven Project.
My name didn't appear in the headline, but the phrase independent journalist did. That's not my name, but it represents us. 9 smeared individuals now turned into a described group. That means they haven't stopped. Even though some accounts were restored, they're still deboosting us.
Right. It's not a one-time operation. It's ongoing.
They want to wear us through.
Right. But we're not stones. We're moving. We won't stay in the same position.
Yes, third time. I also found.
But he was there, in the same room. On nights like this, I think about what we have: paper trails, photos, messages, a network of people who don't sleep. Our archive isn't a weapon, it's a map of everything they tried to erase. Every time we add something to it, the map gets a little more complete.
What does that mean?
It means they might be restructuring or changed clients. Or they could be staying silent, waiting for us to stop watching. Now they can attack the access endpoints, but the content is already distributed across over 100 nodes. To delete it all, they'd have to shut down the entire network. They can't do it. They can't do it.
That night, for the first time, I felt that what we were doing wasn't just invasion.
Just a few lines of text, a couple of emojis. It was already better than the silence we'd had before. That night, for the first time, I felt like what we were doing wasn't just an investigation. We were building a space where we could let our guard down, even if just for a moment.
I found a photo. Helen Crane at a public event before she left Crawford's office, standing next to Crawford. They're not looking at the camera, they're looking in the same direction. The photo's metadata shows it was taken 5 days before she received the first payment from the consulting firm. That's not evidence, it's a point in time. That's not evidence, it's a point in time. What are you implying? I'm not implying anything, I'm just pointing out that point in time exists. They were together then. Do you think that photo should be published? As part of the record. Not as an accusation, as background.
Her position said everything. She was his chief of staff, his inner circle. She didn't need to stand closer to him, because she was already close enough.
Looking at that photo, I remembered what Frank had found. She started lobbying the very first week after she left. Time and place aligned. That photo is still there. Its very existence already says a lot. No annotation needed. Someone is watching me. Someone is watching Amina. Someone is watching Ben. Someone is watching all of us. But they can't see the line connecting us. That line is encrypted, decentralized, stretching between 9 different locations. They can see our boundaries, but they can't see where our center is. The center isn't any one city. It's in the spaces between the lines.
This is not a single corruption case. This is a network. Crawford is not a node, he is the center.
What we can do is make the schema of the network public. We don't have to publish everything at once. We can publish node by dot. When one node collapses, the others will loosen.
Which node do we start from?
Senator's network of interest. Senator Crawford has always acted within the law. The allegations come from anonymous sources and lack direct evidence.
Nine articles were published, and on the 3rd day, they took the site down. In no response to any of the allegations.
Automate account traffic is down 70%.
They're not shutting down the system, they're reducing activity to avoid being traced.
If they reboot, we'll notice. If they don't reboot, they've retreated.
I saw the website shutdown notice. That's their usual MO. No admission, no explanation, no word, just vanished.
Do you think they'll be back?
Under a different name, different domain. Same crew, different year.
How long?
Month, but that's after this storm passes.
Then we have time.
What is your take on the reports regarding the truth puzzle?
I will not respond to anonymous internet accusations. My record is public and clean.
So are you implying that the accusation is unfounded?
What I mean is my records are public. You can see for yourself.
He is evading the issue. Instead of addressing the content, he is attacking the source of the information.
That isn't defense, it's deflection. It shifts the issue from what you did to who is saying it.
We don't need him to admit it. We just need the public to see what his reaction is and what he is evading.
That afternoon, I scrolled to the comment section of the interview video. He walked away. That person noticed. That was enough. In the second week following the publication of the 9-part series, 3 mainstream media outlets conducted independent follow-up reporting. One organization verified Amina's border contract data and cited Crawford's office emails as evidence. Another company verified Sarah's drug approval documents and confirmed the authenticity of the recommendation letter. A third investigative team independently traced documents related to Project Raven and confirmed that funds were routed to the campaign account. Instead of relying on the truth puzzle as their sole source, they utilized their own channels. Once the media independently verified our documents, the pieces of the puzzle were no longer just our story. 9 different voices speak the same sentence simultaneously. The sentence itself remains unchanged. It is simply repeated 9 times. It is no longer the assertion of a single individual.
We will conduct a preliminary review of the relationship between Crawford and the undercurrent strategy.
It is not an accusation, it is a preliminary review. A review is not a conclusion, but a review means someone is looking. The review began the day we first met. We just didn't know it at the time. Do you see what we are doing? Got it. Thank you all. It was only 4 characters, yet I knew she was still awake late at night, looking.
I will resign from my position in order to focus on my personal affairs. However, I remain convinced of my innocence.
We simply placed it where it could be seen. After I finished reading it, the only thing I remembered was that line of text in the middle.
That was his journey's end. After everything had been said, he left.
That was not a satisfying ending, but it was an ending. I didn't sleep that night. The 9 of us decided not to view this collaboration as a one-off. We are not building fortifications. We are building signal relay stations. If someone is being smeared, they know there is a place where they can send out a signal. We established a formal organization. Its purpose is not investigation, but protection. That is not defense. It is connection. This serves as proof of my agreement to the establishment. We've decided this collaboration won't be a one-time thing. We're establishing a formal organization, the Independent Anti-Smear Alliance. What's the mission? Not investigation. Protection.
Protection for who?
Where's the headquarters? No headquarters. Distributed across our 9 cities. We're not building a fortress, we're building a defense. That's connection. I signed the founding document. I signed the founding document, not a signature, a string of encrypted characters. It means I agree to establish. The others sent their encrypted other confirmations one by one. That day, we truly pieced all the brushed fragments, not acknowledged each other. The 9 of us exist, and we will continue to exist. The first month after the alliance was founded, we received our first help request from a journalist we didn't know. Three days of analyzing her accounts, flagging patterns, confirming traffic routes similar to dark current strategies. Is Isabella access was restored, files backed up to the secure network. She later published a report on the land development project, not deleted, not deboosted, not buried. She did what we had done before. She put the document in a place where it could be seen. And she did one more thing. She put our names in the acknowledgations.
When I saw that report late at night, the acknowledgement says, to the Theme Thanks the Group, printed in an article, published, archived. It was no longer just an internal label. It had entered the public record. No street light, a computer, and lay down. The room was dark. I closed my eyes again, and this time, I fell asleep.
I look back now at that first week. 9 accounts frozen, search deboosting, fabricated screenshots, anonymous emails, template platform responses, sustained silence. It looked like the end, but that was not the end. That was the beginning. Because I later met 8 others who were on the same path. Then we confirmed each other's existence. Then we found a common purpose. Then we discovered the fragments each of us held. Then we chose to respond, not through justification, but through sustained documentation. Crawford fell, but that's not the final act. The final act is not a politician's departure. The final act is 9 independent journalists standing a pattern that can be replicated as forward. They leave the colleated for the next project, the next city, the next successfully published reports being systematically silenced. I sit in the studio, the earliest notebook in front of me. The first page has a date and 1 sentence. The last page has another. In between, I filled it with other things. 9 names, 3 subgrades, dozens of file numbers, countless message logs. Those marks are not a story. They are a record. The record itself is enough. I put all the photos in it. Our 9 studios, our 9 cities, our 9 nights. Linda took a photo of a street lamp in a Boston snowstorm. Amina photographed the documents spread across her desk. Jay photographed his server room. Marcos photographed the stacks of notebooks and sticky notes. Sarah photographed a tree full of blossoms outside her window. Ben photographed an empty parking maze across the street. Tanya photographed a moth resting on her keyboard. Frank photographed a brick wall. I photographed my desk. Nothing special. A computer, a cup, an open notebook. That folder has no title, no tags, but I know what's stored in it. We are still here. We have worked long enough, and we will continue. If someone is being smeared, that path has already been walked. Someone walked it all the way, not to show that the path can be crossed. We'll keep it extending, because Thomas the next person's statistician. Someone walked so in to know our names. They only need to know someone walked this route before. Then they'll start walking their own stretch. It will keep extending, because the next person will step onto it. They don't need to know our names. They only need to know someone walked this route before. Then they'll start walking their own stretch. If you see someone being smeared, it might not be that they did something wrong. They might just be walking a path towards the truth. The path is there, covered, but not erased. When a person is silenced, it's not that the voice disappears, it's that the record remains. The record will stay, because you only need to keep arguing. When the documentation is enough, the silence will be heard.